设计的方式，使得更多的人能够参与在这个社会运作里面，或者说被包含在这个社会运作里面。同时，它也对我这个对哲学其实有点害怕的那个人来说，提供了一个很好的介入的机会，就是原来 there is a philosophy for everybody。Right， 也就是说，不是只有哲学家才能搞哲学，每个人都可以搞哲学。OK， OK， 那我想今天anyway， 所以我就不多说了。那么我想待会他就会透过这个演讲，让我们大家认知到他对哲学的一个认识，以及在这个设计的这个课题上面，对共生的一个想法。那我就不多说，请大家欢迎韦国老师。
First, I want thank you, Professor Joyce Liu, for inviting me. I think we met for the first time when you visited me in Tokyo at the Komaba campus about 4 or 5 years ago, and you had a series of lectures. I got to know you. And after that, 1 or 2 years later, we had a joint seminar here. I brought my students, and it was a very nice seminar. And after that, in the next year, I think you came, Professor Chu, to University of Tokyo, and we had another joint seminar. And for this conference, Joyce offered me to come, and first I thought that it was, I would be just 1 dozen of presenter. So I didn't think that I had to speak as a keynote speaker. So at first, when I got the tentative program, I looked for my name in any session, but I couldn't find my name. So I searched with my computer with my name, and then I realized that I must talk as a keynote speaker. So this is my first time. This is the first time for me to talk as a keynote speaker. So this is very, very. I think it is a very great honor to be invited here. Thank you very much. And yes. My topic will be a little different or strange for this conference because it is too general, and most presentations deal with the topics on history or politics to more specific theme. But my presentation is probably too general. And I don't deal with such a specific event or so. But as I said, I thought that it would be just 1 dozen presentation, but it was not. But when we interpret the rest as also marginalized or disadvantaged people group in the society, and it would be probably not so, it's also appropriate for this conference to talk about social inclusion. Let me talk about the background for this topic. One is philosophy for children, and the other is project of the Research Institute for Humanity and Nature. This is institute which is located in Kyoto, and I had a research project for 3 years. And philosophy for children is, as Dr. Wan explained what I'm doing now in Japan, this is the philosophy for, not for students. Usually we think that philosophy is very, very difficult subject and which we can learn in universities after we learned other things. But philosophy for children is developed in America in 1970s mainly by our American philosopher Matthew Lipman, and he developed this method for children because he thought that it is probably too late for us to learn to think logically, critically, or this ability of thinking should be developed from childhood. So he developed a method in the form of dialogue. They talk with each other, but think together, and develop the way of thinking. And I visited in Hawaii, high school and elementary school, and watched this style of philosophy, and I was very, very impressed. The children, they are about 6 or 7 years old. They talk with each other, and they think very creatively, very deeply, and it was very impressive. And I, so to speak, import this method to Japan and try such workshop or dialogue in many places. And this is the people, see, not children, they are old people, senior people, but it works in such a community of senior people very, very well. And they are not only senior people, but also younger people, students, and I'm relatively younger, of course, than senior people. And they talk very openly and honestly and very deeply. So it is, so to speak, philosophizing. Not philosophy as a discipline, but it is a way of thinking deeply, philosophizing. And the other background is this, as I said, the research project in the Research Institute for Humanity and Nature. The topic was the local standard in globalization, social inclusive approaches towards transformation of local communities. I don't explain it so closely, but in this project I collaborated with designers too, and they design not product but the community, so to speak, the process, how people get together or how people do something together or talk together and so on. So that way I came to, I have been thinking of such inclusive approaches to transformation of community. Now, the introduction to this presentation. Now, today we talk about diversity everywhere in terms of gender, race, ethnicity, religion, nationality, generation, sexual orientation. There are many kinds of diversity which we must deal with. And I think there are mainly two backgrounds for this trend. One is globalization. That is that we have more opportunities of encounter and conflict. And the other background is democracy. That means that we are more conscious about human rights and discrimination. I think hundreds of years ago, we didn't, or probably the ruler at least didn't care about how we were treated. There were no human rights for everybody. And therefore, now we expect that everybody has a human right and that must be protected. So, therefore, I think we talk about social inclusion as a mode of living with diversity. And also, probably dozens of years ago, when we think about coexistence of different people, we could think that we can just live separately. Even if they, for example, the foreigners can come to their country, but we can live separately. That is probably more easier and probably more peaceful. But therefore, we talk about diversity in positive sense, but it makes the problem more complicated and difficult than in the age that we just live separately. So, and yeah, as I said, how can we or should we deal with diversity? We can integrate other people into the society, or include them into society. Or is it better for us to separate them from our society or exclude? Yeah. And but how is this social inclusion possible? We often say that we need mutual understanding, or we need the imagination, or we need to be tolerant to each other, or we need solidarity or protest, or we must love each other. But the question is, we don't know how all these are possible. We don't know how to understand each other. We don't know how we can be tolerant to each other, because, for example, you don't understand your girlfriend, you don't understand your boyfriend, I don't understand my wife, or the parents don't understand children don't understand parents. It's difficult. So how can we understand people with other culture or from other background? That is a problem. And talking about design, today design is everywhere. We can talk about textile design, fashion design, product design, web design, graphic design, and about the interior or architecture, engineering. We can talk about design. And probably you have heard about landscape design, sound design is like background music. And also organizational system or concept can be also designed. And communication experience or education can be also designed. This conference is also designed somehow, right? And this development of design based on, in my opinion, one hand on capitalism, because capitalism needed more broader market, and it had to differentiate many areas. When they make the product enough, then they must differentiate, and so they must be more stylish or more convenient. Then we needed more design in broader field. And also, it is also based on democracy too. We are more conscious about exclusion. People feel that this is not for me, this product is not suitable for me. So therefore, we need more differentiation. So I regard, therefore, inclusive design as the method of living with diversity. And now, before I talk about inclusion, I want to talk about the exclusion. Yeah, everything excludes somebody. So everything implies a specific inclusion and exclusion. So there are tangible things like tools, products, buildings, streets, and stairs. And they are inclusive for, that means accessible or usable for certain people. But on the other hand, they are exclusive. That means inaccessible and unusable for other people. I will show you the examples after. And there are also intangible things like space, time, group, opportunity, and so on. They are also exclusive. They can be also exclusive. For example, that the exclusion is based on attributes of things like form, size, color, and weight, and also human capabilities like cognitive capabilities or sensory or physical or social capabilities. For example, I will show you examples. I talk about design not only in artificial sense, but also natural things that can also very, very exclusive. For example, this is the nest of ant, the insect. The hole is too small for other animals to get in, so it is exclusive. Only ant can get in, right? And this animal, this quills, is too dangerous for other animals or people to attack. It is exclusive. It makes other people inaccessible for attack. And stairs is exclusive for people in a wheelchair, so they need an elevator or slope. And this language is too many and too much. Only adults can transport, not children. It is exclusive for children. So scissors, we must be able to